All right, well, it's just me and Tay. Brian is sick. Although the other day we were recording and you said something to a guest that basically sounded like Brian had passed away recently.
Well, he was not.
Can you imagine if Brian died and
he wasn't with us?
That's how we addressed it on the show? Like we never like talked about it on the show, but like we're talking to a guest and then we're like, yeah, and our former host who is no longer with us, he once said, and then like just never really mentioned it. Except for that.
And then everyone was really confused as to whether he just wasn't there that day.
Yeah.
Or maybe he's dead. Brian's not dead, just sick, and on the mend.
He could be dead by the time this comes out. We don't
Possibly.
know. I'm not
really
a fortune teller.
No idea where anything will go.
I'm sad that Brian's not here because I feel like he would love this first story.
Oh, you're going to talk about AI.
Not really, but I'm talking about AR.
Okay.
Augmented reality.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this new, I mean, it is kind of like AI-powered smart glasses that this guy created that allows deaf people to see conversations with real-time subtitles, as well as like a rewind chat feature. Okay, so it's branded as XRAI glasses, XRAI glass. It uses ordinary augmented reality AR glasses synchronized to a smartphone app with AI-powered software.
So they would use like the Facebook Ray-Ban glasses, for example, and this is sort of like
that,
like an integration with that.
Yeah, so you patch it into you take the glasses, you put them on. There's like a input on the glasses with a cord that runs to your phone. The software has potential utilization for just about anyone and gives the user a new kind of personal assistant that remembers what they've forgotten. The AI assistant employs deep learning technology to write back even the most complicated questions. Some of the learning mechanisms include large-scale learning models. So this has live captioning built in that can translate over 9 languages. Okay? So the app possesses the ability to translate on the spot 9 different languages.
That's cool.
In pretty much real time, and they're expecting more in the coming months. The guy, the founder, co-founder Mitchell Feldman said, "Imagine Alexa, but right in front of your eyes," which is kind of cool. I mean, I find like Alexa to be quite helpful, around the house and doing things.
Yeah, AI assistants are pretty. I've been really impressed with We use a site, like we have a subscription to a site to make some of the reels that come out for our guests that we post on our social media. And so when we put that together, there's like an automatic subtitle generator, and I could not be more impressed with how that happens.
Yeah. It's good. It's not perfect. Like there are some, I catch it a lot on Instagram. Not saying it's like on our posts, but a lot of posts.
I mean, this one in particular, because I notice that it's not that it's far from perfect on a lot of stuff on Instagram or on wherever you're seeing it. Yeah. But this program in particular, it's called Headliner. Free plug for the site. They do such an incredible job where when somebody says, if a guest, if we pull a clip and the guest says, it's kind of about, it's and they sort of stumble before they actually get into the meat of what they're about to say, Headliner sees all of that filler and just doesn't include it in the subtitles. So all of that stuff won't show up in the subtitles. If you're hearing it, then you'll hear it, obviously. But if you're just reading it, you'll just read it as if there was no ums, ahs, any filler. It just automatically takes it all out.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. Here's footage of these glasses at work. So this is the first person to ever use them. She's a deaf woman.
Oh, I think these are the Meta Ray-Bans.
She's totally shocked.
I'm assuming BSL is British Sign Language.
Yeah. Isn't that cool?
Well, that's so interesting.
So fascinating. They show, there was another video. It might actually be this one here, but, someone who is deaf receives a phone call on their iPhone, and they just put it on speakerphone. So he's going into now. This is the founder. He basically goes into how he decided to create the glasses. So he has a 97-year-old grandfather who had hearing loss.
Hold on, but what you said about the speakerphone?
Oh yeah.
You put it on speakerphone.
Yeah, you just put it on speakerphone, and the person's talking to you, and you can, as a deaf person who can't talk to someone on the phone,
the glasses are hearing.
The glasses are hearing what's coming out of the speakerphone and just translating before your eyes.
Yeah, that's cool.
And so you can have a conversation back. It's wicked. It's so cool.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Co-founder Dan Scarf's 97-year-old grandfather's hearing loss and his subsequent difficulty participating in family gatherings inspired the idea for the smart glasses. Where his grandfather came to life the most was watching television and using subtitles, Feldman said. He added, if he enjoys captioning, why can't we caption his life? And that was the genesis of how the product started. Super cool. I mean, and this is what I love about this is that this is the first time we're seeing something like this being implemented in a way that isn't crazy, intrusive. It's not awkward or fucking lame. It's like when you think of the first VR headsets, they were fucked. They were so big.
And you had to go somewhere.
They looked like shit. You had to go somewhere. Whereas the first iteration of this is fucking pretty much store ready.
Yeah.
Right there,
because AR and VR is sort of
it's come so far.
It's sort of it maybe not, this is maybe not the best comparison, but the way that going to the moon in the 60s and preparing for that basically gave us a ton of medical technology. The research that went into figuring out how we get there and what the dangers and things that you need to think about when going to the moon gave us MRI machines. They gave us a ton of shit that we used to detect a whole range of things that save people's lives. And so it's kind of okay, well, we started with AR and VR, and that's the primary function of that technology was entertainment and gaming. Yeah. And now you start to see it as the technology evolves and it spills over into this very seemingly easy to use and not very clunky thing that's really helpful for somebody who can't hear. And that just seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the challenge would be, I'm wondering what the percentage of the population is that has hearing problems. I'm sure that's a pretty easy stat to find. I imagine it's quite a big market, so I can't imagine that it would be that expensive once it's scaled up, so that you can make it accessible to everybody. Because obviously that's going to be the barrier to entry is going to be the glasses and the technology that goes with the glasses.
Yeah. So some of the tech that needs some improvements. It's sometimes a struggle understanding group conversations when people speak over each other.
Right.
So a fairly quiet environment is kind of also needed to interpret the speech accurately. Compatibility is another issue that they're working on right now. Love that my computer's crashed right in the middle of reading that. They have it's available on I think they said 12 different Android devices. 14 Android smartphone models. But it's not yet compatible with iPhone. But a free version of the Apple app will be made available, but users will have to pay for premium features. But guess how much the glasses are? I also thought this was kind of surprising.
Well, who's making the glasses? Are they making the glasses?
They are, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was like an app or an integration or something that went on, I mean, I don't think AR glasses are very ubiquitous in culture. I know that Meta makes one with Ray-Ban, but I really don't know of any other glasses. So they're making their own glasses.
They're making their own.
I'm going to say that they are in the $250 range.
Ooh, a little higher.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, $484.
$480. Okay, well that's.
But I mean, even still, like I have a pair of sunglasses that are more expensive than that.
If the glasses do more,
and that wasn't a flex. That was just like glasses are expensive.
I understand.
Sometimes,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, so good, high quality, like brand name glasses. Are expensive.
Good quality glasses cost money.
So I wonder how much is Meta's, because if it's competitive with Meta's glasses, and I keep on saying Meta because it's honestly the only AR glasses that I really know of. I don't really know any other brands.
Those looked super dumb too.
Ray-Ban Stories smart glasses. No, they just looked like
they looked a little clunky.
No, they were just Ray-Bans, and they're just slightly thicker arms.
That's the part that looked. I mean, maybe it's just a personal thing.
They're $459, so that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, cool. Yeah.
Although I guess the issue would be, so you're probably not getting as much functionality with these glasses, but you're getting like a very specific function.
Yeah.
In the like the feature for deaf people.
Yeah. Yeah. So pretty neat. Would love to see where that goes in the future. The next thing I want to kind of talk to you about, which man, I love that my computer just shit the bed.
How old's your computer?
It's not the computer. It's the application that I'm currently using, which is Brave. And I think I'm moving on from that because it ain't working for me.
Really? Regularly?
Yep. Just keeps crashing.
You got to go back to get the old Goog?
Going back to Chrome. Here we go. Here's a fascinating little study that I came across last week, just after we recorded Feel Good Friday. So I didn't get to put it in last week, but it relates to us in the sense that. We could be, without even knowing it, we could be satisfying psychological needs for people just by way of doing this podcast. So listening to podcasts may help satisfy our psychological need for social connection, a study finds. So podcast listening may help people fulfill their social needs, according to a recent study published in PLOS 1. The study found that people who listened to more podcasts per month reported a greater presence of meaning in life, and those who formed parasocial relationships with hosts reported a greater sense of relatedness. Now, parasocial relationships is something that I think we've kind of touched on before in the past, but it's quite fascinating. Parasocial relationships are basically one-sided relationships, essentially. So parasocial relationship refers to the type of psychological relationship that is typically experienced by an audience when they encounter celebrities in the mass media. When in such relationship, members of the audience feel as though they have built a personal and reciprocal relationship with these media personalities, even with little to no interaction with them in real life. Mm-hmm. Parasocial relationships are typically formed with celebrities such as actors, musicians, social media influencers. And these relationships are one-sided, where our person invests time, emotions, and possibly money into the other person, while the other party is unaware of their existence. Now, this like a parasocial relationship sounds like you could read that and be like, that sounds like it's probably a negative thing or like a bad thing, which it can be. There's sort of a hierarchy of parasocial relationship sort of order. So you have like entertainment social, which would be like a healthy parasocial relationship. Celebrity is a source of gossip or entertainment, that kind of thing. You have intense personal parasocial relationships. So that would be like intensive, compulsive feelings towards a celebrity. And then you have borderline pathological, which gets into like uncontrollable behaviors,
stalkers,
and fantasies. Exactly, like stalker type stuff.
I mean, I feel like the more access that, and this is something that we've been talking about in like business conversations a lot lately, is like the more access that you have to somebody's like real and authentic thoughts, like when we do this show, like we're not playing characters, we're not playing roles. We're just shooting the shit, talking about stuff.
What you see is what you get.
What you see is what you get.
You know?
We're
raw. Real. We're raw.
Yeah. Like we're neat, cool, slick.
This is it.
And so when you have these like long form these long form conversations and chats where you really do get to know somebody, like in a pretty real way, maybe not in a reciprocal way where we're sharing stuff about each other because our listeners are on the other end of a microphone or on the other side of a headset that we don't have access to, but at least they're getting like the real version of us versus like developing this relationship with an actor, for example, where you are seeing them almost exclusively portray a person
like
that
Chris Evans. Everyone's like, oh yeah, Captain America.
Yeah, and it's like, well, I mean, Chris Evans seems to me like he's a fine fellow, but I don't know.
Yeah.
And how would you know?
Yeah.
And so I feel like there's like a greater health maybe of that relationship that goes along with podcasters specifically because
you're getting the real
podcasting. It has at least a greater tendency for people to be like authentic in how they're delivering their media.
So the authors of the study, Stephanie J. Tobin and Rosanna E. Guadagno, wanted to delve deeper into the types of people who listen to podcasts, the way they listen to them, and their reasons for listening. The researchers also wanted to study the outcomes of podcast listening, suggesting that the practice might help fulfill basic psychological needs for autonomy, competence, and relatedness. Tobin and Guadagno distributed an online questionnaire to about 308 adults from various parts of the world, including the UK, the US, and Portugal. The respondents completed various personality measures like the need to belong, the need for cognition, so the extent that people enjoy thinking, and the big 5 personality traits. So the participants were also asked if they had ever listened to a podcast. If they had, they were then asked various questions about their listening habits. To assess potential outcomes of podcast listening, participants were next asked questions regarding their basic psychological need, satisfaction, the extent that they feel and search for meaning in life, their mindfulness, attention awareness, and their susceptibility to smartphone addiction. According to the results, 78% of participants had listened to a podcast before. These participants had been listening to podcasts on average of 3 years and 3.5 hours per week. In their analysis of the data, the researchers next examined whether certain personality traits predicted podcast listening. So this is really interesting. When examining each predictor separately, participants with higher openness to experience, internet-based curiosity, and the need for cognition were more likely to have listened to a podcast. The study authors say this suggests that people who listen to podcasts have higher informational needs, and that podcast listening likely allows them to explore new topics and engage in effortful thinking. Within a model that included all big five personality traits, openness to experience positively predicted podcast listening, while neuroticism negatively predicted podcast listening. They said, quote, with people with a higher need to belong were less likely to have listened to a podcast, Tobin said.
Higher need to belong.
People with a higher need to belong were less likely to have listened to a podcast.
Interesting.
The need to belong finding was actually surprising for them. They said we had predicted that that those with a stronger need to belong would be more likely to listen, given the social aspects of listening.
Yeah, I probably would have predicted that.
However, listening to more podcasts per month and higher social engagement with podcasts was tied to a greater presence of meaning in life. Additionally, forming a parasocial relationship, a one-sided connection between an audience member and a media character, with podcast hosts was associated with higher relatedness. Relatedness is the basic psychological need for social connection and belongingness. And that really speaks to me because when I read this article, I couldn't help but think about early days of COVID. And, when COVID popped off, I was alone in my house. Bridie was out of province. She was like tending to her father who was sick. So I was home alone with Bigby. It was just me and Bigby. And I started to notice that prior to COVID, I hadn't listened very much to Duncan Trussell's podcast. I'm a big fan of Duncan Trussell and everything he does, but I was never like really digging into his podcast very much. Over that span of heavy lockdown when we were like washing groceries and shit, all I was doing was consuming the Duncan Trussell Family Hour podcast. Mm-hmm. And after a number of months, I started to notice like, oh man, I could pick up on that parasocial connection, that one-sided friendship where it was like, I feel like I know Duncan, and like if I saw him in person, if I was just like walking through the grocery store and I just accidentally bumped into Duncan Trussell, it would make for a really bizarre experience because I feel like I know him so much, yet I know that I don't. And so it would make for like I've run into like a number of celebrities or whatever in life, like just weird situations where I find myself in a place I'm like, oh wow, this is crazy. Like Seth Rogen is here. And those situations, it's like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like maybe I'll have a chat with them and I'll say, this or that or whatever. Like when I saw Hamilton Morris at a music festival this summer. And I just walked up and I was like, dude, thank you for your work. I'm a huge fan. Like I think you're amazing. And he was like, oh, thank you. I was like, this is really cool. What a cool thing to run into you. But if I ran into Duncan Trussell, I think I'd be like,
let's fuck.
Yeah. Blow me. I'd be like, I don't know what to say to you right now. Cause it's much more intense than like a,
and it's much more like what Duncan Trussell is providing is much more ethereal. Like Hamilton Morris is kind of telling you like some pretty interesting like factual things.
Yeah, but Duncan Trussell like babysat me during the pandemic. Yeah. He was like he was literally like without even knowing it.
And his content is much more like philosophical.
Yeah, totally. I mean, but content aside, it's like, it's just the fact that he unknowingly spent so much time with me in a really hard time. And that built some sort of weird relationship that I still feel to this day. It's like, I still feel like if Duncan Trussell, God forbid, died this week, I would be so devastated. And I can't really say that for many celebrities.
Yeah, well, because you don't feel the connection.
Yeah. Like I was really sad when Robin Williams passed away. But like, if Duncan Trussell died tomorrow, I'd be like, I would be like true grief.
I mean, you can see it. Like I read a New York Times article within the last couple of months, and it had these really interesting graphs, and it was all about Google searches for celebrity names in relation to their death, like when they die.
Yes. Oh yes, that was an awesome article.
And how how the like demand for searching their name like either diminished or stayed strong over time, and it was drawing these relationships to basically what we're talking about now, like the society at large's connection to this character, this person in pop culture, which was very interesting. But what I would like to see as like a follow-up study would be like, okay, so they're looking at these things and they're coming up with these interesting things like the need to belong connection, which I found very interesting, and then going, okay, well, why don't we like subdivide into take like 5 of the most popular podcasts, but that are all in different genres. So maybe there's like an arts podcast that's really big, and then maybe you've got like Joe Rogan's podcast over here, and so you've got these like distinct audiences, and you conducted the same study on those specific audiences, and then compared the results from each audience, because I think like if you take Joe Rogan for example. Joe Rogan gets a lot of controversy because he has such a gigantic podcast and he has so much influence that you would probably draw. I think a lot of the reason why he takes so much controversy is because when he says something that people don't agree with, it's not just that they don't agree with him, it's that they don't agree with him and he's influencing so many people.
Yeah, right.
And so you would kind of draw a connection between gullible is not the right word, but like easily influenced people listening to his show, and that's sort of like your worry.
Yes,
is that there's such a large portion of easily influenced people taking something the wrong way, taking it out of context, believing in something without questioning it.
Yeah.
Like that's.
I mean, if Duncan Trussell started saying like it's okay to like it's actually good for your health to drink like 1 ounce of kerosene a day, I'd be like, all right, well, Duncan said so. So like, let's get fucking chugging.
I might,
you know,
I might try it.
Yeah. Like if Duncan Trussell was like, you need to sun your asshole the moment you wake up, like, and he just comes on and he goes, primals, you know, like I'd be like, yeah, I'm in, I'm down.
Because
Duncan Trussell follows the 9 ancestral tenets. I'm fucking up on it, dude.
Liver King. It's because it sounds like the study is basically going, podcast listeners are quite astute, intelligent,
yes.
and like self-aware people. But I feel like there's a lot of podcasts, and I think Joe Rogan's podcast is probably the most notable one.
Yeah.
To go to where people would probably, if you asked 20 people, they would probably go, "Oh, I feel like that's not what his audience is."
Yeah, right.
That would be like the outside perception of that. So yeah, I'd like to know how this study fares in like specific podcast audiences, like popular podcasts.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, and the other interesting thing, I mean, I'll move on from this, but the other interesting thing is I've noticed this like at our live shows, like where somebody who listens avidly to our show will come up to us at a live show, and you can like, sometimes they'll even say, they'll be like, this is really weird for me because I feel like I know you.
Yeah, very much.
And
so.
you have no idea who the fuck I am. And I've talked to people in my own personal life.
It's even more trippy when that doesn't get said. And you just and you feel like you've been launched into a conversation with, and you can tell that they are
right,
approaching the conversation like you've had 1,000 conversations.
Yes, yeah. And I've had people in my life be like, is that weird for you? Is that a weird? And although I wouldn't say it's weird. It's not weird. Although it's a unique experience to have a conversation like that with someone, I really love it.
It's easier. You get you skip the bullshit.
That's right. Yeah, it's right. Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, cool. Now I have to play catch up to you.
Yeah.
You know, like there's no there's that, even though that familiarity is only on one side, it sort of makes just hanging out a little easier.
Yeah, because you're getting the vibe that
this is you.
Yeah.
This is the real you.
Yeah.
Like you've already got the real me, so you're not putting on any kind of mask.
Yeah.
You're just like showing up.
Yeah.
Anyway, very, very neat. I psychological studies, sometimes I read them and I'm just like, I find a lot of them hard to put into the show. Cause like sometimes I read them and I go, that's the dumbest study I've ever heard. And it's always the psychological ones, but some of them are really interesting. There's one I'll tell you off air. Cause I don't want to get into it. Especially on a mic. All right, so here's an interesting story. A naturopath who sold fake vaccine cards is gonna do time.
If you're a naturopath, plug your ears because Jer's about to fucking sound off.
Yo, I'm sounding off on this fucking ding dong. A naturopathic doctor who sold fake COVID-19. If anybody is out there doing this. Fuck you.
So,
naturopathic doctor who sold fake COVID-19 immunization treatments and fraudulent vaccination cards during the height of the coronavirus pandemic was sentenced in California on Tuesday to nearly 3 years in prison.
I mean, why? Like, why though? I mean, he must have been an anti-vaxxer.
Big time.
Yeah.
Julie A. Mazzy pleaded guilty last April in federal court in San Fran to one count of wire fraud and one count of false statements related to healthcare matters. During the hearing, U.S. District Judge Charles R. Breyer handed down a sentence of 33 months, according to a spokesperson for the U.S. Justice Department. Mazzy of Napa did not immediately respond to phone calls and emails seeking comment. She was ordered to surrender to the Bureau of Prisons on or before January 6th. Isn't that kind of crazy? Like that notion of getting sentenced, not being in jail.
Yeah.
And then them going, you got to come to jail on this day.
Yeah. Dude, honestly.
25th Hour. Did you ever remember that movie?
I remember the title, but
Edward Norton gets busted for like drug charges and he has to show up to jail. And one of the crazy scenes, and like he's going to do.
That's like a 2000s movie, right?
Yeah. He's going to do like Hard Time. And so there's a scene where he gets his best friend the day before to bring him, like they go to this like park in like Central Park. And he's under this bridge and he gets his friend to beat the fucking balls off him, like beat the fucking shit out of his face. So when he shows up to prison, he just looks mangled to,
to like
signify that he's like fucking maybe crazy. Also make him a little less pretty. Because like Edward Norton, very pretty boy.
Good looking man.
Especially at this age when
Yeah.
he was doing this movie. Anyway.
Dude, I think that if I was going to jail for 2.5 years and I had to report to jail,
you'd flee?
Dude, I don't think jail's worth anything. I don't think anything's worth jail, honestly. Like, dude,
I
jail's just gonna fuck you.
Yeah, if I was gonna do 3 years, at that point I'd just go, you know what? I'm gonna become the jail daddy.
Like, it's gonna be,
and I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna own the place, and it's gonna turn into turn into like Orange is the New Black. I've got like all my jail minions.
Kind of a dramedy.
They're like, yeah, exactly. They're painting my nails, and I'm getting like contraband.
Yeah.
I've got all the guards are like bringing in contraband.
In
their asses.
Yeah. For you.
I've got like 9 flip phones with like a shitty camera.
Yeah. 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 I'm going to start a new life somewhere.
That is my new life. That's what I'm saying too. I'm starting a new life,
and you'll never leave
in jail. Oh yeah, dude.
And you'll
all my meals taken care of for me.
You'll commit some weird crime that has a really high sentence so that you can stay forever.
Yeah, yeah. Like in the
jail.
Yeah. And that's obviously, we know what that is.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we don't have to say it on the
inciting a riot.
Yeah, right. I don't think you go to jail for that.
No. Once you're in jail, so this is the thing. I got sentenced for 3 years.
No, I feel like there's
now I'm in there.
Oh, right.
And then I incite a riot, and now I'm getting more.
But what if you're running for president of the jail? What if you are president of the jail? Do you still go to jail for inciting a riot?
Oh yeah. Because the warden doesn't give a fuck. The warden looks at the jail fucking boss, like the kingpin,
saying,
and he goes, "I don't give a fuck."
Do you see what I'm saying?
But I'm the boss of all the people that I care about.
Right.
The correction officers.
All
I've
the
become
people
best
on
friends
your
with
side.
them. Probably have some relationships with a few of them.
Yeah.
My like prison buddies. I would also bring peace. I'd be like, look, all this gang shit, guys.
Right.
No. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
That's interesting.
We just find like we all decide if there's someone we don't like. We just take care of it.
So like
together.
So you feel like prison reform comes from the inside.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying
like you need to go to prison in order to change the system.
Oh yeah. Well, no, but no. See that? Yeah, it would only change for that one prison that I'm in.
Right.
Yeah, it's not going to spread.
Right. But then you could.
I would make it a really fun place that people go. You know what? This is great.
Right.
No one's paying for rent. You get food. I would make it, and
Oh man,
we get like good hobbies. Like I get good hobbies in.
Can I tell you a bummer story? That's gonna just bring down the vibe of Feel Good Friday, but it's kind of important.
Should we finish this story of the lady going to jail for 3 years for giving out facts?
Sure.
All right. So she did a bunch of dumb stuff. So and she also fired her attorneys and ended up representing herself. So that
says all you need.
That's
to know.
another dumb thing to do. So she provided fake CDC vaccination cards for at least 200 people, with instructions on how to complete the cards and make them look like they had received a Moderna vaccine. She also sold homeopathic pellets she fraudulently claimed would provide lifelong immunity to COVID-19.
Oh, man. This is the person that Aaron Rodgers was hanging out with.
She told customers that the pellets contained small amounts of the virus and would create an antibody response, she said. She was a charlatan. She was a snake oil salesman and, snake oil saleswoman. And,
yeah.
And like, those people are fucking dumb. Like, just don't do that. That's a dumb thing to do.
Yeah, just don't do that. That's pretty fucking clear. So yeah,
bring it down, dude. This is fucking too much fun.
I meant to tell you this when I came in today, and then we got sidetracked on something else. And so last night I went out to. Last night it was just to like set the scene for the listeners. It was like, I don't know, it was probably like 4 or 5 degrees and raining last night. Not like heavy rain, but it was wet, like wet as fuck.
So wet.
And I went outside to take Loki out at like 10:30, and the elevator doors opened into the lobby of my building, and there was somebody passed out.
Oh no!
In the vestibule, not the inside of the building,
the place that you like call to get buzzed in.
Yeah, the middle place.
Yeah.
And there was like shit all over the ground and everything.
Poop?
No, sorry, stuff. Stuff all over the ground.
Yeah.
And so I went over and I just like, before I opened the door, and I was with Loki, and before I opened the door, I just kind of like looked and saw and tried to like just take a second to figure out like what the fuck was going on here. And so there was like a bunch of cigarette butts, and there was like what looked like a meth pipe and on the ground, and then I saw this guy, and like the way that he was standing and the way that there was stuff everywhere, I was like, holy fuck, dude, I think this person came in here and legit just like passed out on their feet and was like up against the wall in this weird position. And so I opened the door, and I was like, hey, are you okay? Are you okay? And thankfully he was alive, and he kind of started going like grunting, and started to like slowly move, and was like, oh, I'm so fucking sore. And he started to move, and he was in a lot of pain, and he was like very groggy, and I was like, man, can I don't move too fast. Like, are you okay?
Yeah.
Like, are you like, do you feel like anything's like broken or what's going? And he was very nice. He was very like, oh, I don't know like where I am. And I mean, this guy was probably like, once he got up and I saw him, he was probably like in his mid-20s.
Oh, geez.
And like just in really, really, really rough shape. And you know, there was like coins on the ground, and these cigarette butts, and this pipe, and like he was just, and his eyes were really swollen. Like, just the picture of this guy, man, like just at rock bottom.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I was like, what can I do for you? Like, can I take you to the hospital? Like, are you like, do you need to see a doctor? Like,
yeah.
Do you like, what's going on? What can I do? And he was like, no, like, I can't go to the hospital. They'll just kick me out of the hospital. Like, I'm in a lot of pain, but like, I also need drugs, and they just think I want drugs, and I do want drugs, but like, I'm also in fucking pain. And I was like, oh my God, like, what a fucking situation. Like,
yeah, what do you do?
He is in legit pain.
Yeah.
But he's also like, I do want pain drugs.
Yeah.
And like I need both.
Yeah.
Like, I want the drugs that they want to give me because I want drugs, but I also need medical attention.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fuck. And so like I kind of helped him get his pick his stuff up, and the whole time I'm doing this, I'm thinking like, man, not everybody is going to come out here and talk to this guy like this.
No.
So like, and I don't want him to end up in a worse situation. I don't want him to end up like with cops roughing him up, or going into jail and then getting roughed up in jail. Like, and then on the flip side of things, I'm going like, is a jail cell like the safest place for this guy to be tonight? It's freezing outside. It's raining.
Yeah.
Like, so anyway, I was like, let's like go stand outside underneath this awning, you know, so that we can just avoid somebody
coming in and being like, I'm fucking calling the cops.
Yeah. And so we go and stand outside, and I'm just kind of sitting with them, and I'm asking them, like, you know, are you sure you don't want me to take you to the hospital? Like, is there, like, do you ever stay at a shelter? Is there somewhere that I can take you, or like somewhere that I can call for you to you know, get a roof over your head? And he was like, I don't go to shelters. Like, I don't, like, I sleep outside. I'm homeless, and like I don't ever stay anywhere. And then he started to get, and then he started looking for fentanyl in his pocket. And I know that because he said it specifically. And he couldn't find it, and he got really, really mad, like really, really mad.
That's how mad I get when I can't find my nicotine.
Yeah, I mean, you know the addiction.
Yeah.
And he started yelling, and I was like, man, like, I get it, you're fucking livid about this, but like, I don't want you to end up in jail if that's going to be even worse for you. Yeah. And like, if you're yelling or if you go back in there, like,
it's going to be
someone's going to call the cops and you're going to end up in a fucking jail cell. And I don't think that's what you want. So like, I don't want you to do that. And I just sat outside with him for like 15 minutes and just like chatted with him and like just felt so fucking hopeless, like helpless. Cause I was like, I want to do something for you. I don't really know what to do for you. Yeah. Like a shelter or the hospital is like really the only two things I can think of that are like tangible, actionable ways to help you. Like I don't know what to do. And then ultimately, you know, after 15 minutes or so, I was like, I mean, I was fucking cold as shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I got to go back inside. I'm with Loki. Loki's fucking shivering. And then, I'm thinking to myself like, man, I feel so fucking shitty because I'm saying I got to go back inside because I'm cold. I didn't say I got to go in because I'm cold, but that's why I feel like I need to go inside. And I'm about to go up to my apartment and get into my cozy bed in my nicely acclimatized apartment and with all my amenities and all my luxuries.
Do you think Kylo would have minded if you let him come up with you and crawled into the bed?
Kylo would have definitely been upset with that decision.
Right.
And so I was like, and I'm going, and I don't know where you're going to go or what you're going to do.
Yeah.
And he said when he got upset about not finding his fentanyl, he was like, he goes, dude, this was fucking heartbreaking. He goes, I just don't want to go fucking steal shit all night.
Ah, god damn, dude.
Because he was going, that was $100. And now it's gone, and I just don't want to go steal stuff all night to get more drugs.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my god. I mean, it was just a heartbreaking situation. I just felt helpless. Like I just didn't know what to do.
And I mean, you know, I feel like every province, I mean, probably every fucking state, we're all kind of dealing with this issue right now. Like the housing issue is fucking big time, and it pours into the you know, medical system. It pours into the, like, it just spreads out and affects everything, you know. And sorry, like, drugs are, you know, the legalities surrounding fentanyl and drugs, like that also ties into it. It's just such a fucking complex, awful, gross situation where it seems like there are some, like, not answers, but there are some positive things that could happen that could, like, alleviate some of this, but like, it's just there's not really anyone really stepping up to do anything about it, you know?
And outside of somebody who like works at a shelter or something like that, I'm like one of the people who should know, who has like the most knowledge.
Yeah.
And which still isn't anything.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I talk to people, we talk to people about this stuff.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. About all these topics, all the topics that are like central to his existence and his life and the troubles that he has.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if I don't know what to do, then there's almost nobody that knows what to do.
Yeah.
And that was just like, I mean, like, I can't force the guy. I can't be like, get in my fucking car and go to the hospital with me. I can't force him to do anything.
No.
He's volatile, to say the least.
Yeah.
Like, very sweet. And he was very appreciative. He was like, he was very much like, when I was like, I don't want you to end up in the back of a cop car, you could tell that he was like, whoa,
don't
thanks.
hear that often. Yeah.
And I was like, holy fuck, dude. Cause that's his life, you know?
Mm-hmm.
He's just encountering people all the time that are just like,
did you recognize him? Was he like, cause we have like some familiar faces.
No, I've never seen him before. Which I thought was strange.
Yes,
because we have a lot of
you know, there's a main cast of characters that we know just here in the neighborhood.
Yeah, nobody that I'd seen around town. So,
well, you know, again, just another example of how this drug crisis is wreaking havoc across the country.
Yeah.
The housing crisis is wreaking havoc across the country. and it's having an effect on the health of our nation, you know? So hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll see some changes in the next few years, but I'm sure, you know, I feel like people have been saying that shit for eons.
I know.
Well, let's end things on not so much a lighter note, but a more what the fuck note with this week's episode or edition of What the Hell? Oh, what the hell? I was going to talk about CTE, but we'll talk about that next week. CTE is weird.
Yeah,
it's weird. Really weird.
Really weird.
Really, really weird. So this is a fucking nutty story coming out of jolly old England. Channel 4. Everyone loves Channel 4 over there. They are going to dissect a mother of two's dead body on air for the very first time. So Channel 4 is set to air a new documentary that will show a woman's body being dissected. The program, titled My Dead Body, will mark the first time a named donor has been dissected on TV.
So, like, they know who it is.
Yes. This is the woman, and it's wild to me that this is the best picture that they could find of her. Toni Cruz had cancer, and she died of cancer in 2020 at the age of 30.
Is she missing an eye, or is that blurred?
That's an eye patch. I think she's probably missing an eye. There's like a sort of skin-colored eye patch over her. The series will be narrated by her own words.
Whoa.
And shows the dissection of in a series of educational workshops intended to educate the viewer on the science of cancer.
Wow, that's interesting.
Cruz was diagnosed with cancer in the tear gland in 2016, a rare form of disease which led her eye to being removed. In 2020, she was informed that her condition was terminal. Agreeing to donate her body to medical science, Cruz also consented to it being placed on public display. Earlier this year, she became the first British cadaver to be dissected in a public display for almost 200 years. Isn't that wild?
Oh, wow. Well, I guess they probably would have done it with...
back in the day, they were like...
And shit.
They were doing it just like, guys, come, we're going to dissect the guy in the fucking town square. Come
like somebody that... Like
a little bit of a different dissection.
Like a criminal.
Yeah, but also just, yeah, totally. But like doctors just like, you guys want to come see this shit?
Yeah.
People just crowding over, sneezing into the fucking, like, just crazy.
Wait, what about the sneezing?
Well, they were all sick back then.
Right.
They're sneezing into the dead body. I mean, not that it mattered for the dead body.
Right. Because it was dead.
You know? So agreeing to donate her body to medical science, Cruz also consented to be... Professor Claire Smith, head of the anatomy at Brighton and Sussex Medical School, said...
I love how in the span of 8 words, you took that accent from like 10% to 90%.
Yeah. We have been so privileged to explore the journey of cancer through the incredible donation made by Toni. As part of this documentary, we were able to invite more than 1,000 students, including nurses, paramedics, and neuroscientists who wouldn't normally get to learn about this 1 in a million cancer. Super rare cancer.
Oh, is it really rare cancer?
Yeah. So Toni's gift of body donation doesn't end with this documentary either. Her body will be used to educate our medical students and doctors for years to come. The program will feature home video footage of, as well as interviews with her family. Cutting-edge voice replication technology will also be used to provide narration.
Oh, so she's not actually narrating it.
It's like AI based.
They took her voice sample.
Yeah.
And are making her voice.
Fucking crazy, dude.
Wow.
Anna Morales, Channel 4's commissioning editor, said, this landmark documentary will bring together the latest in anatomical science and cutting-edge tech to tell one of the most intimate stories of all, how a young mom bravely fought for her life against a rare form of cancer. By donating her body to public display, the first of its kind in the UK, Toni Cruz has given us an extraordinary and unique insight into the journey of the disease, while the presence of her voice in the form of diary entries, letters, and social media posts ensure the film is filled with all the warmth and generosity that characterize Toni's inspiring life.
Black Mirror.
That is very Black Mirror, dude. It's very Black Mirror.
That's kind of the foundation for the episode with Domhnall Gleeson.
Right. Yeah, the like inflatable doll boy.
Well, he was...
Didn't she? You know what?
It started out as a chatbot.
Yeah, you know what they should have done though.
Then it was a fully formed like humanoid.
But you know when she goes to like she unboxes the humanoid. The missed opportunity for a little bit of comedic relief in that episode would have been that he comes in this like package that's about like the size of a wallet, and you open it up and this is like this little mini Donald Gleason, and then you got to put him in a tub, and like and let it, and it grows with like
what is that? What
remember that toy? Do you remember that toy?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. It was like a man that it was like a He-Man that you put in the water and then it just like absorbs water and gets fucking huge.
Yeah, I do remember that.
It was like around the time of like Chia Pets.
Yes. Yep. Like when we were like 12 or something.
So good. Yeah. Crazy though. I would actually. I mean, it'd be probably a hard watch just for your heart, but I would love to watch that documentary.
I wonder what the response is from. Said she was a mother too. Like I wonder what the. She's quite young, so I guess her kids are probably quite young, probably 10 or less.
I would say they probably don't really have much say.
Yeah, no, not that they would have much say, but like if they were older, like I wonder if like how cool they would be with it.
How cool do you think you would be with it if it was your dad?
Well, I mean, personally, I'd be like, well, it's not my fucking choice. Yeah. So it's it's what he wanted. But not everybody feels that way about.
No,
stuff.
Totally. I mean, I would be like, that's fucking cool.
Yeah, I mean,
that's super cool.
Yeah, even if I wasn't cool with it, it would be like, well, that's your choice. You know.
When I opened that article, because it was about body donation, I was expecting it to be like, the U.S. military blew her up.
Yeah,
yeah. They like just strapped mines to her and blew her up, and they made a documentary.
And
about
like
it.
different parts of her were scattered.
But this is much
sweet.
This is much nicer.
It was very nice.
Than
much
that,
nicer
than that criminal way of.
This is where you really want, like when you donate your body to medical
what you
science,
hope it. Yeah, exactly.
This is what you hope happens.
Yeah. But it is. I mean the dissection thing on TV is quite wild, which also reminded me of this podcast. And I think I talked about this recently, but like this podcast I've been listening to about executioners. And executions in general.
Do you, like executioners, as in like current prisoner prisoner execution now, or like executioners from like back in the day?
No, yeah. So primarily about like medieval, sort of 14th century executioners in Europe.
The guys that are chopping heads off and dropping the guillotine. And
yeah. So so there's a book that I might buy. And the book is about, I forget the name of it, but the book is, executioners are super fucking interesting. They were like pariahs in their town. Like they were completely isolated from the rest of the town.
Huh.
Everybody looked at them as though they had some sort of like almost magic ability.
Which is interesting because so many people thought it was so fun and cool to go watch people get their head chopped off.
They did think it was fun and cool to watch, but the person who did the act was almost like a god to them, and not like a god in like a we praise you, but a god in the sense of like there's like a fear and awe of this person. So much so that like if you touched an executioner, if you came into physical contact with an executioner, you would now be convinced that you are going to have bad luck for the rest of your life. You've shamed your entire family. You probably should just like end your life. Like it was wild. Anyway, also executioners, super rich. They were making fuckloads of money, but no one gave a shit because
interesting.
They were just
wow.
So anyway,
what an interesting irony.
Super ironic. And then also in terms of like family and like love, because they were so excommunicated from the society, it ended up like there was a lot of inbreeding in executioner families because it was just like it just kind of all had to stay in the family because like and if you were born, if your father was an executioner, you had no choice of what the fuck you were going to do in life. You were going to be an executioner or nothing. Like there's no option for you. Anyway, getting like off topic here, but the question of this podcast, it was a hardcore history episode. It was basically about like if so back in the day, back in whether we're talking about like the Roman times, like in the Colosseum, You know, where like people are showing up, eating their like Roman fucking popcorn, watching
romaine lettuce.
Yeah, romaine lettuce. Watching, you know, gladiators slice each other up to the death.
Caesar salads.
Or, you know, fast forward a number of centuries to the 14th, 15th century, where you have executioners, you know, torturing dudes on a raised deck, and literally hundreds of thousands of people gathering to watch. Like it's like bigger than the fucking Super Bowl. And what is that? Is that human nature? Right? Like, or is that just like misguided culture? And like, so, you know, the question basically was like, let's say someone made a movie today and the movie was, you know, the latest like Marvel blockbuster hit, or, you know, let's James Bond or Jason Bourne. It's like the next Jason Bourne movie. And they made two versions of the film. One version of the film is the one that we would typically see, where, you know, all the violence is acting. It's all simulated. And then they shot for shot, exact same film, exact same lines, exact same cast as the other one, but every death is real, and every act of violence actually plays out. And they release both of those movies at the same time. Which one do you think would have a higher box office hit? The real one or the fake one?
Probably the real one.
It's hard to say. Like, I don't know the answer. Perhaps.
I mean, it's hard to say.
Which is fucking wild.
Because there's outside factors involved. Like you have to ignore a bunch of factors, like that wouldn't be allowed to be.
Well, right,
played,
sure,
like,
of course. But like putting that aside, like, let's just say you did it.
You did. It was totally fine. It was allowed to be released. Yeah,
and so that speaks to like, what is that an innate thing built into us, like an innate morbid curiosity? I'm sure you're definitely gonna have people out there that go, absolutely not. That's insane. I would never.
Yeah,
but you're definitely gonna have a fuckload of people too that would be like, I'll watch that. I'll pay money for that.
Yeah, that would be extremely traumatic for a lot of people. Even though they're signing up for it willfully.
Sure. Now, so which begs the question: all those people that back in the 14th century that like went to the town square and watched a guy get broken on the wheel.
I mean,
do you think some of those people were like, "This is true"? As much as I'm loving this right now, this is fucking me up. This is traumatizing me.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's so many things that you said it was. I don't know. The words you used were good. You've got good words.
If you're gonna cough, can you please leave the room?
What did you say? You said a cultural something. You said
yes, right. Is this a cultural sort of innate built-in thing, or
you said misguided culture. That's what you said.
Right.
I mean, if you look back, I mean, fuck, we're not super far removed from like slavery in terms of time, like relative time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you know, there was a point in time where like the most prominent, you know, more seemingly moral people in that day's society held slaves because it just wasn't regarded as a moral issue.
Or
until it was.
Talk about fucking something a little bit more that's had a little resurgence. Old Hitler there. You know, like I watched a movie last night. It's called Come and See. One of the best films I've ever watched in my life. Probably will never want to watch it again. And also made a massive mistake eating an edible before watching it. So fucked up. It's a Soviet-Russian film from the 80s. And it's like an anti-war movie. I think the original title literally was supposed to be Kill Hitler. And it's about a Belarusian boy who... like a teen, like 13-year-old boy who gets swept up in World War II, wants to be a soldier, very quickly realizes that was a mistake, and it's fucking phenomenal that this movie was even made, because it is so disgusting and so horrid that like like this movie could actually like traumatize. I'm sure this movie has traumatized a lot of people. The last like 30 minutes of the film, you are really seeing, it really does a great job of hammering home how fucking insane Nazis were. You know, like you hear, like I remember as a kid, I was obsessed with the Holocaust, reading books.
Yeah.
World War like watching movies. Like I remember even Schindler's List did like a pretty good job of that too.
Yeah.
But this movie's on another level, and it's like when you see it in this movie, it kind of, you're kind of like, oh my God, what we're awful. Humans are awful.
But Nazism and that like most of the world. I shouldn't say most of the world, but a very large portion of the world
but my point
saw it in the moment as that's not good.
Sure. But an entire country where and I'm not saying that every German was like, yeah, kill every Jew you see.
I think it was very divided.
But there was very divided, but a lot of people, right? So so what's the, what does that come from? I mean, that stems from a legit psychopathic fucking insane monster holds power over the country. Like he's the leader of the country. So you have a psychopath in power. It's like, let's take Ted Bundy and let's make Ted Bundy the president. What the fuck do you think's going to happen?
Yeah.
But the fact that there's so many people that were like, yeah, I'm a Nazi and I'm just going to follow orders. Like we are a really fucked up. We're a really fucking susceptible, fucked up, weird.
Like we're doing something now as a society, like probably almost ubiquitously across all cultures, all races, all religions, that in 150 years we'll go, I can't believe we were doing that. Yeah. I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
I like, because by its very nature, it's something that we don't see.
Yeah.
And we will go, why were we doing that? I can't believe that a very giant portion of the population thought that was okay.
We're having sex with a real person,
right?
Instead of just like booting up your neural link to have sex constantly, never not having sex.
I mean, I know you're kind of joking, but kind of serious.
That's crazy. They didn't just live in Fuckville,
but like
forever.
What it probably is, if the thing that just popped into my head is killing animals for food.
Right.
Like, I could see that being something that in 150 years people will go,
yeah,
wow, I can't believe they used to kill millions of animals every year for food.
Watching Come and See last night, guaranteed 100% there was a scene where a cow gets shot for real. Mm-hmm. And you watch this cow die. And I was like, oh, Jesus Christ, that's really hard to watch. Like, they used to do that. They used to, like, kill animals in movies.
Right.
There was, like just no one gave a fuck. Like, you watch Apocalypse Now, you're watching a cow get sacrificed for real. And it's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
That really, it really guts you when you're watching.
And it's crazy because you see that, and if you know that really happened in the movie, it shakes you. But then you don't make the average person does not draw the same conclusion when they eat.
Right.
You know,
there is a little bit of a difference there, though.
There is, of course, the
difference with the eating is like,
of course, there is a difference.
Yeah.
But I mean this from the perspective of 150 years from now, when most likely the meat that you are eating is going to be grown, is going to be cultured, and the idea of taking the life of an animal to eat is so ridiculous because it's so obvious that you don't need to anymore.
Right.
To get the same thing.
Man, you really need to read Orcs and Crake. For real.
Okay.
Especially after saying.
Do you have it?
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll lend it to you. Well, that's it, folks. What a weird episode.
Yeah, we went on a bit of
went on a fucking tear. Hope you enjoyed that. Don't worry, Brian will be here next week to keep us to rein everything back in. Unless he dies, I don't know. We really have no idea.
The course of this illness is yet to be determined.
We have no idea. I mean, he just has a cold, but like he could
never know.
Yeah, he could fall. He could fall off his balcony. Like, he goes out on his balcony and Maddie says something really funny. He laughs so hard that he like accidentally flips over, and he's on the 14th floor, so he would probably die.
Yeah.
So we'll see next week if Brian does survive the next 7 days. In the meantime, though, if you want to support the podcast, you can do that by leaving a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts, or you can leave a rating on the Spotify mobile app, or you can even come join the conversation over on our Discord. We have lots of fun episode discussions happening over there, people adding to Feel Good Friday content. The Wordle channel is still popping off, which is so wild to me. I haven't touched Wordle in so long, but it's nice to see people still working their little brains every morning and trying to solve that one word with those 6 letters. And
thanks for that explanation of Wordle.
Yep. And that's all I have to say about that.
Wonderful. And if you have anything to say about anything that we talked about, or anything that's tickling your little brain, not your little brain in a derogatory way, but your little brain in a cute way.
Your little puny, little tiny peanut brain.
Cute brain. Then you can let us know at letters@sickboypodcast.com. If you want to be a guest on the show, you can go to our website, sickboypodcast.com/contact, fill out the guest form, be a guest on the show. And thanks to everybody who makes this show happen. We've got myself and Jay Sond over here. Everybody call you Jay Sond?
No, dude, no.
Well, I'm starting. B. Stever, not with us today. Jay Lonis and D. Morgan on the sound design over there. So we really appreciate it. And Rich O'Coin for doing the theme music. Thank you very much, old Richie boy.
Our Oak.
That's right.
Good old Our Oak there. That's it for this week.
I'm Taylor.
And I'm Jeremy. And this is Sick Boy.
It really does throw you off, that missing beat, doesn't it?